I'll be asking a couple of questions I've written down. I'll also be taking from the audience. So like I said earlier, if you have any questions, just write them down and they will be answered. Okay. And I'll start with you, Mr. Nathaniel. So we know that you are an expert in the financial industry and all of that. So, but there's this, like I said earlier, the one's finance can also affect one's mental health depending on whatever the person is going through financially. So my first question to you now is, the financial and stock markets, you always advise us, I read your posts and all of that, you always advise us invest in the stock markets and all of that, but how can fluctuations in the financial or stock market impact an individual's sense of financial security? Okay, we are to invest for financial security, but when it now goes south, right, what do we do? What strategies do you recommend for managing anxiety related to market volatility? That's the question.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the question. Thank you for asking. So, as regards investment, finance, and how it relates to your mental health, let's say it's one of the major reasons why people have, like I said, anxiety. And when you are not able to pay your bills on time, when you are not able to meet your demands as at when it always have an impact on your mind. We live in a country where, like, we've been having a discussion on where price of things are going up, your salary remains constant, and we are wondering how do you meet up with this. So imagine somebody that's earning maybe 100k monthly, or in some cases maybe 80k monthly, and your monthly expenses like maybe 120, 150. So we are in deficit and we are constantly living on growing, and before your salary comes in, very prepared. When your salary comes in, very prepared for your loan, for your debt, and you are still borrowing and you still need to live and you see. So it's quite difficult and it's quite challenging. So what I would say before even coming to investment, because investment is like the last angle towards it. The first thing to take note is how is for you to understand your personal finance, for you to understand your financial life. So there are different aspects to life. There's the psychology part of life, there's the human part of life, there's the church or spiritual part of life, and there's also the financial part of life. So one thing you will need to do first of all is to have a good and stable source of income. That is the first thing. And we live in that's an interesting world in the sense that you don't need to. It's not compulsory that what you studied is what fits you. So if that you study a particular course and you're thinking that okay, you must use that particular course to it doesn't work that way. I don't have educational background in finance. I studied geophysics. So literally there's no correlation between geophysics and finance. But I'm working in an investment bank, so I made that switch. So one of the things I would do, because yes, people complain that there's no job in Nigeria, but I've worked in two, like where I currently work, there was no vacancy. So typically you hear that okay, S company is recruiting, you can apply. But the last two companies that I've worked for, they were not recruiting. I was the one that reached out and I got a job. So if you are waiting that until you see vacancy from UBA before you apply, you'll be deceiving yourself. And one of the things you can do to because this is like the foundation. Before even yes, I talk about investment and stock market, but before you even get there, you need to have full understanding of your personal finance. Because if you don't understand your personal finance, that's when there's volatility and it likes to affect you, to break you. So one of the best things to do is to get a good and stable source of income. So irrespective of what you studied in university, you can always switch to let's say use the word higher paying job. It's possible to switch to a higher paying job. One of the things that I'll just try to summarize. One of the things that you do is find out what is really in demand. Find out what is really. I know people talk about tech. You don't even really need to be in the tech industry. You don't really need to be in the tech industry. You just need to be in an industry that is valuable enough to pay you a decent source of income. You just need to be in an industry that is valuable enough, like I said, because everybody is rushing into tech. If everybody rushes into tech, who will be managing the money that they are raising? That is it. Nobody. So there are still job opportunities there are still people in Lagos that are earning 500k, 800k, even 1 million naira in Lagos and are not even in tech and still in Lagos. So it's possible. All you need to do is find out where these things are. So let's just give a practical example. Before working with Afrinvest, I worked with nairametrics. Most people know about nairametrics. The same way I got into Afrinvest is the same way I got into nairametrics. So because of what I do in stock market and finance, I grew to a state that I knew that there was need for me to work in a big organization, because helping people to manage 100,000, 1 million now is different from helping somebody to manage 100 million, 200 million. It's different. So you need to be in that industry too, or in that environment to be comfortable advising somebody that has. So few weeks ago, last month, we did a kind of meeting in our department where a woman had over 200 million naira in her portfolio, and we needed to help her readjust her business. If I was not in that space, I would never have been able to have. So what I did was that, okay, I discovered that I just, because I was following her metrics, so I said, okay, let me work for them. But there was no vacancy, like I said. So it's not like they put a billboard or an advert that we're looking for a job or something. I got to know about the founder, and I reached out to him on Instagram and Facebook that my name is Nathaniel, I do this, I've done this, I would like to work for nairametrics as this. I sent a message to Instagram, I sent to his LinkedIn. He responded on his LinkedIn. Now he gave me his email, he told me that I should reach out. I reached out, scheduled an interview. We had the interview and he said, okay, let's bring you in as an intern first. So he brought me in as an intern. After 3 months, now upgraded to full staff, and that's how I got in. And in the process of, because I actually wanted to be in an investment banking space, but in between that internship and full staff, there was still a bit of delay, wait for surprise or things like that. It's better I protect myself, because if you are negotiating salary and they now bounce you and say, okay, we don't need you, and they shall not, okay, let me just try and the same way. So I went to Google. So this one is like, this is not book knowledge, it's actually what I did. So I went to Google, I typed investment banking companies in Lagos. I searched for all of them, I wrote all of them down, and now check for their email addresses of key persons in the company, either the HR or the investment banking. I started looking for all of them. There were about 25 companies. I searched for all their emails and I sent emails to all of them. And I just get like that. So in the process of, so they already like approved my stay in nairametrics. Then I now got an interview for the first company. That was one company I don't mention about. I went for the interview in VI, and the interview didn't really go well. The man laughed at me, no problem. I was like, fine. And there's nothing has happened until nairametrics. The following week, that was when Afrinvest called, or on Tuesday, before that, we got your email, we like to schedule for an interview. The first interview went like, okay, this, or just left it. Then the following week, now called me again that we'll be meeting with the CEO of the company, Chief Executive Officer. Like, fine. If they were not impressed with the first stage, definitely they will not go to the second stage. So we went to the second stage interview. After that, okay, we'll get back to you. They now called me again. That this final, they didn't say it's final, but me, I got to know that it was final. That we'll be meeting with the deputy GMD interview. Right? Okay. If I didn't pass down, they will not. So now interviewed me there, and the next thing was to give me an offer. Like, okay, this is fine. I had to resign this place. So that's how I got it. So in some, what I'm trying to say is that get a good paying job in an industry that is valuable enough. It doesn't have to be tech. So that's on one part. Then the second part that I need to round up is that is to have a good I'll not really call it backup, but have something that you do beyond your salary. Have something that you do, and when it comes to things like this, you don't need to be you don't need to set up brick and mortar business that maybe start selling things, start selling. But in the digital world, people, the internet is there, so leverage the internet to make more money. So do something that will not necessarily affect your day job. So that's one thing I would say. So it's not that you are switching. So that thing that sorry, I forgot to name that he talked about, that gets asked for a raise or something, that may not typically work, because until you are valuable enough or you can only switch jobs. That is the, so you can only switch jobs. And also find out how to sell something online that will give you consistent stable income, because through the internet it's possible to earn more than a monthly salary.
Yes.
Through the internet. So if you are earning maybe 100k as a salary, you can earn 200k on the internet. That is not affecting your day job. And at the end of the day, your colleague is earning 100k, you are earning 300. You did not switch jobs, you are not sacked. So whether inflation is this or dollar is 2,000 or like, they are still stable enough, and from there it makes it easier. So even when you are investing, irrespective of the volatility, because you have other, so not like you are doing multiple sources of income, but you have an additional thing that gives you steady income. And this is why I said on the internet is that it's very easy and the barrier to entry is very low. All you need to do is have a good social media account, you have internet, you have data. You are not setting up, you are not renting any shop. You are just in your house, you are not renting any shop, you are not paying anybody anything. Maybe it's just your internet and maybe you are not paying so maybe just platforms like maybe you need Zoom Pro or all those kind of camera plan. So that's just basically how to use. From there it becomes easier for you to weather any storm of market.
Thank you so much. That's really deep and very valuable. I hope you got a lot from that, because you shared a lot of powerful points. Thank you so much, Mr. Nathaniel. Okay, so to the next question. The next question is directed at Mr. Awolo. So, given your expertise in adolescent counseling, right? Can you elaborate on how social media usage among young people correlates with, like, how it contributes to anxiety and depression, and basically what are the ways to address this issue?
Okay. Well, thank you for that question. And that's even my master's dissertation.
Wow.
The influence of social media is one of the very, very important things. I use psychosocial variables. And one of the variables, social media is one of them. How it brings about marital sex. So I actually work on how it brings about sexual morality. So my friends, they sent me back and they said, there's nothing like sexual morality, that it is only contextual and religious this. So when they explained and they said, how can I measure sexual morality? Because what somebody judges as morality is not to another person. So the only thing you can probably measure is the marital, at least that one. Because the marriage, which is even some religion is accepted, in another religion is accepted, it's not accepted. So the only thing you can measure is something that probably you can have people that will say, okay, regardless of religion, we have done this thing because we don't marry and we have done. So media is a very powerful force, because it has and that's one of those things that makes people call this generation it's basically internet. That's what makes them. And you notice that the level at which young people, the level at which they know what they know. Sometimes I met a parent. I was mentoring the program last week, and the parent was sharing with me that she's afraid after the program, and she asked me to. It was even last week Thursday, and I said, "Mommy, why are you afraid?" He said, "You make the daughter 20 years old can do almost everything. She make hair, she play keyboard. Not that she's not afraid. I know it's too much, and all that." And she was like, "I said, but you just have to be flexible enough and open space for her, and probably plant people that will be like a pillar of guidance to her." Because see, the way they are going, two things they do in this generation is that they do it too good, extremely positively, or they do it too bad, extremely negatively. So they don't. It is only the generation of all these our mommies and maybe some of us that believe in being So there's some religion, but once you eat, you are able to eat and you can sleep well, you are fine. In fact, you can live like that till you die. But it is wrong for you to go to an adolescent and tell them your wristwatch is bad, your hairstyle is bad, your shoe is bad. Now, by the time you are saying 5 things about them is bad, they are waiting for you. Yeah, bring what is good. They are waiting because they want to fire you too. You don't have told them everything about me is bad. Okay, let me hear you. You now said it is church that is good. You will now say sit down. Let me teach you about church. The church that I'm talking about. I had a class one day. I learned my lesson. We brought the guy because he smokes and all that. So I just started counseling like my career. I just started. And I told the guy, no, you can't be smoking and become great. I don't even listen that I'm great at smoking. Wait. I'm only telling you what I've experienced in my field. At least I've been close to 6,000 of them. Yes, sir. Wait. He said they're not must. The guy said he has his own model and the guy spoke. I said, you have to say pictures. I have a lot. Is that what my for 15 minutes he was the counselor. I am the client. I sat down, listening. Finally, I said, let's come back. Because the point I was coming from. And you know, parents and people don't suppose that not to you. We must be able to tell them where we also make mistakes. Don't paint yourself as a superhero, as if you don't have any error whatsoever.
As if it's not messy.
Yes. like as if the way you say it, because you are opportune. Probably some of our elderly people, it's because they are not exposed to social media. That's why they live some level of saint life. If some of them have been exposed to so I'm telling you sincerely, you know, if somebody that's never seen media and all that, they will tell you capability accepted. Even you don't even have if there's no atmosphere for you to even once you go to the farm, come back and all that, regulated life and everything. So, but not in a generation whereby go to school, sir. Most of the problems we face when we go for our mobile counseling and the old life training we are doing, we meet some of them that young, there is even one that our stepfather was the one abusing her. The mother knows and the mother said, let's keep coping because the man will send us out of the house. So it was one day when we were teaching, she was just okay, come here. So these are things that we are going to help them with. Social media is there already. We have nothing to do about it because it's even going, it's getting stronger. Because AI has come and everything. So it's getting stronger. What we can do is that there's a human aspect of them that we have to work on. There's a human aspect of them. Somebody told me one day, they say, sir, everything is not working for me. I said, what do you mean? He said, my dad is this, my mom is this, my brother is this, my uncle is this. By the time he said all that, within me I was thinking, I said, how can I counsel you now? Everything is bad. I said, but something is not bad. He said, what's that? I said, your mind is so bad. For you to recognize all these problems, that means you still have the power within you to change things. I said, that inner force is enough. I listened to Good Boy's sister 2 days ago. I listened to it 3 times. She said, she was talking about her brother because they said he was fearless, he achieved a lot. Because I like great people, Pastor Lester knows. When I see a great man, I will follow you, That's why I like Magidi. I used to follow some of these people. I like great people. I like great people. If I meet any great man, I'm telling you, I'm a fan already. I will follow you anywhere you want us to go. But I'm telling you, because I know, even if I'm not as great as you are, I'm your friend. So you can't say this guy is no longer my friend again. So I read about him. I listened to all the tributes. And I now got to our elderly sister who was a doctor. The woman said that her brother Waek was very bad. So this woman said that it's not because she is brilliant. That's why he achieved what he was able to achieve. He said he's not exceptional. He's just like an everyday ordinary children. He said the only thing is just hard work and tenacity. That's what makes him special. He said he plays ball and the father will go and beat him and all that. So one day he realized, I want to change my life. And that day he chose to change in the university. And from there, he said that was when he said he wanted to be a doctor. And he told his sister that you are a doctor, me I'm a master together. My bank account is even better than your own. So the lady was not telling her, okay, if you still want, even despite that, there's still room for more. So when you tell them from a point of view that they can relate with, they will embrace you. Even when they themselves, there's this conviction that will come when you say an image that is not here. They say, apart from the fact that my mommy said, because my mommy said is a force that may not last for a long time. Or my daddy said, or they said this thing is bad. But when they realize by themselves that, so I get to this place, this thing is actually not healthy for me, knowing fully well what that thing has caused and what it could probably cause to bring to them, they will run away from it. So managing social media is a very, very big one. Do you know that even they even do sexting and all that online, sending their nude picture to themselves online? Sometimes when I collect photos of my students, it's something. So we have to work with them. See, you will do as if those errors are not existing. Because if you were to see the error, hey, this is what you're going through. Jesus, you'll be like, the Bible says, like, I'm telling you about my friend, you're like, I've never had this kind of thing. You say, even though sometimes when I hear some of those cases, even me, I'll be like, okay, but in my mind, as a counselor, I'm trained. I will come and say, okay. But in my mind, I've already, shouted and do all that. So you can help them like with that. Put yourself in their shoe. And also you too, you must learn about all this internet and all that. So that you can actually know you can help them regulate it. Help them places that, because when you tell me not to solve this particular this thing, where should I go? They want to know. Don't just tell them stop this, stop that, stop that. What else? They are very, very inquisitive and restless. That's one thing about them. So tell them what more. You are even lucky. I told the woman, I said you are lucky your baby can make it. She play keyboard, she play guitar. I said you are lucky. Just encourage her. And the ones who don't know how to educate people that work come together.
Thank you so much. That's the best you can do. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. So moving on to our next panelist, Mr. Tochukwu. Right. So as the founder of Mental Health Awareness Africa, how are you, like, what are the issues? Because from what I read in the bio, your Mental Health Awareness Africa is an organization that aims to take the conversation of mental wellness to different parts of Africa. And I'm really impressed that you have such organization that's particular about mental health. So how has the journey, this is going to be a bit more personal, right? How has the journey to taking this mental wellness conversation been? What are the challenges that you have to face, and how are you able to conquer them, in the society at large?
Okay. So I'm going to start by just sharing with you how mental health awareness Africa evolved. I'm sorry, I always do this whenever I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's focus with something where I think the word is too loud. And when I speak, most times I find that people don't hear me. And then I'm speaking, so I think you can hear me. So that's why I asked. Sorry about that. So I realized that I think there was a moment on social media and even outside of social media where there was a high rise of suicide. There are different explanations as to how or why that came about. I think it's also, I know for the fact that it's also documented in the Paris books. That has to be sometime around 2020, if I'm not mistaken. So it seemed like there was a whistle on your mask, get set, and then everybody was committing suicide. One day you're hearing somebody here, and then the next day it's someone else. And for me, it was a lot more personal because, so I am a writer. That's basically what I am. That's almost, I always introduce myself as a writer. And in the space of creative writers, it seemed like there was, like the problem was more prevalent in that space. So I had writer friends who were battling with depression, some of them eventually committed suicide. So there was always that conversation around why is this happening, why is this, why are we affected by this, is something we can help. And so discussing that with people around me, that eventually gave rise to Mental Health Awareness Africa. And then from there, we started with teaching business. So in the core thing of Mental Health Awareness Africa is just to take the conversation everywhere. I'm not a therapist, I do not provide mental health care. What we do mostly is to, because in my time conversing with people and meeting and relating with people, just trying to discuss mental health, I realized that there are lots of misconceptions around mental health. lots of misconceptions. So you mentioned mental health and somebody's like, I beg you, yeah, this is not for us. We are not involved in this one. Take it to another group of people. I had so the Mental Awareness Africa launched with the publication of the novella Adese. And Adese was structured to just basically kickstart the conversation around understanding ourselves, understanding our minds, understanding the next person, the person right next to you, and trying to manage ourselves as well as manage the next person. So there's this thing that we always say that if you're a driver, you drive for yourself and you drive for the next person. Because if you're a driver and you're doing whatever, it's not just yourself, right? It's also the other person, the other users. So with your mental health, you're not taking care of your mental health because you want to live your life. You're also doing it for the next person. I enjoyed the conversation, the teaching on getting emotionally unavailable lovers. I enjoyed all the teachings, but I just want to grab something from there. Something said about taking care of yourself first. So in a relationship and in any meeting or gathering or working together of more than one person, the best thing you can do is not to develop your partner. That's not the primary thing. The primary thing is to develop yourself. If you're working in a team, the most important thing is not to do another person's work, is to do your own work first. And if you're doing your own work, you're prioritizing that, and the next person is doing their own work, then you can work together. You can find that meeting point. So when I spoke to, after Adese was written, it's a true story in some sense. So it was born out of conversations I had with a friend. The thing that brought us together was that she had some issues that she needed to discuss. And she found Celeste in a total stranger on Facebook. Not just a total stranger, without a face. Actually, someone whose name was Margaret, without a name, without a face. That's the person behind that account just happens to be me. I feel like I'm digressing a lot, but that was even my own way of dealing with my own personal trauma. Created a totally anonymous thing. And I don't know what I was doing that made it seem like people would talk to me, but I realized that. So, in the course of the next 1 year, she shared a lot about her life with me, and we practically just walked through stuff. And then at one point, it felt right to tell a story. Basically because I am a storyteller. But while I say this, I also recognize that there are gray angles, there are gray areas around it, because you don't just like tell a story out of something that's sufficient to do. But it was something that we discussed while it was happening and after. So Adese became, at the time, and I think so far, one of my most read works, however, and got a lot of people talking about mental health. But when the person eventually attempted suicide, good thing we were able to get her help before but she attempted suicide. And when I spoke to her father after, I won't forget the line that she used. So I think I told the father that she had been struggling. And so the question the father asked was, so but how is she struggling? She's in the house, she's eating, she has clothes, she's sleeping. What is she struggling with? I realized that it was so difficult to answer this question, because then you have to start by finding a lot of things and making him understand from the basics. So that is the basis on which mental health awareness across founded. Just a random person, at least give them that education, that primary education. This is what mental health is. This is just what you should know. These are things you should look out for. This is how you should manage yourself. This is how you should, or why you should also care for the person next to you. So now going over to the challenges, I feel like I've touched a couple of things already. There's the fact that people, Nigerians and Africans, first of all, our immediate surrounding has shaped us in a certain way. For instance, while we were doing the exercise that we had when we had to close our eyes, at one point, I'm not very proud to say it, I was pretty much very invested in the thing, but at one point that African, not African, black, I think I've broadened it enough to cover all black people. Anybody that has a last name, we always have to keep our eyes open. You don't close your eyes for too long. So, because I don't remember, I have my phone on my table, and when you open your eyes and your phone is missing, okay. So, yeah. So, when you walk up to a person, they're already thinking, what is this person trying to say? What are you bringing? What are you trying to sell? Somebody, while I was in Port Harcourt, somebody just called me one day and said, come, if you do this thing and you get it right, I'll give you 6,000 naira. I had no idea what this person was doing, but what I knew for sure was that this young man did not wake up one morning and dress up and come out to give me 6,000. He wanted to take something from me. That's my natural African and black man sense coming into play. So sometimes we work on our job, but sometimes it keeps us from getting what we should get. So when you ask somebody to go and speak to a therapist, they're thinking, I'll go and tell one person all my life struggles, all the history, the family issues I have, now I'm going through that. So let me keep it inside. So these are some of the challenges we have to overcome. These are some of the challenges we've had. And there's also the stigma around mental health issues. I was at the tech event, there was a segment for mental health. So the moment it was mentioned, everybody's saying that mental health. How? We know that we are not one of them. But we are okay with discussing physical health. If you came to a church and said you wanted to give them free, yes, checkup, thank you, free checkup, everybody will be rushing. But if you say let's discuss mental health, they will shift one side because maybe you want to give me something that will make me crazy. So these are small challenges, but when you put things together, they amount to so much. But that is, those challenges are even the reason why our work is more important now more than ever. So what we've been doing so far, we started with the students because we find that it's better to teach young people because they're more teachable. With an adult, there's okay, yes, I wanted to apologize, but I'm not going to apologize because everyone else has at one point shifted something that I did not understand. So I think this is unfortunate to turn people, but I will translate. There's an Igbo adage that says that you don't teach. Okay, she says in Igbo. Yes. Thank you. It says Adam Market Lanka. You don't start to learn. Yeah, I know. You don't start to learn to be left-handed. Yes, thank you. As an old person. So there are some things that an old person will take much longer to understand because all their life they've known this way, and it's not like they can't change, but it's going to take a lot longer. But with students are more teachable. They are more open to learning. They will absorb, just like the speaker was saying. They will absorb what we give them. So we've gone to secondary schools. We've gone to gatherings of students from high institutions, and we've just told them about mental health, and we've also tried to implement some practical things that will help them, right? Because it's one thing to say be conscious of your mental health, it's also something else to tell them practically, just like you said, okay, so what's the good thing that we have to do? Because you're telling them, don't follow these people, don't smoke, don't get violence, that's not how to express, you should deal with your problems. Okay, now what do you do, right? So we also teach them healthy ways to deal with their issues. I was discussing something with Patrick just yesterday. Things like healthy competition, right? How about teaching them how to play some games that will help develop them mentally, say chess, for example, or Scrabble.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Triple. So moving on to our next, the only lady. Okay. Myself. A very beautiful Emanuela. Right, so the question I have, early teenager. So what role does family dynamics play in the manifestation and management of anxiety and depression among teenagers?
Okay, so thank you very much.
Please let's listen attentively. Okay.
Okay, so when it has to do with family dynamics, so definitely teenagers they're not dropped from heaven like that. They come to a home, they
Yes.
come to a family, they come to parents. Even though sometimes you have situations where one of these parents might not be available, or both parents might not be available. Or even situations when both parents are available, there's still some things that happen in the home. So each and every one of us, we can attest that we all had different upbringing. We had different ways we were raised in our family. Some of us had maybe very strict parents. Some of us had liberal parents. Some of us had, can I say, maybe a balance, a mix of them, and all those stuff, right? So, what anxiety? Anxiety is basically like an unexpected or excessive fear of something, right? That you sometimes maybe you can't really pinpoint what that thing is, or you have an idea of what you're really scared about doing it. So anxiety is basically fear. It's not like it's a big grammar and stuff, right? But most times an unexpected fear, something that you really can't control. Yeah. And what is depression? So depression is when you begin to have this deep sadness, right? Lots of interest in things that you once enjoyed, feeling of hopelessness, feeling of no worth, you have no worth in life and all this stuff and everything, and so many other things that are attached to it. So for teenagers, their upbringing, the family dynamics, the way their parents relate to them, they have to be affecting their mental health in that sense. So when I mean in that sense, I'm talking about anxiety and depression. So for a teenager that is raised in a family where, so we are going to be doing this together, right? So for a teenager that is raised in a family where you have very strict parents, I mean very strict parents, and you really can't express yourself or things that you're going through. From that little age, you begin to experience some kind of anxiety when it has to do with expressing yourself. So when you're found in a space where you're always going to shut up or keep quiet, don't talk, and or maybe if you speak, you're saying that it's disrespectful and stuff. When you find yourself outside that environment, to speak up becomes an issue for you. Do you get? So I had a client that was talking about her upbringing and all, and she said something. She said there are some things she noticed about her body that she didn't really like, but hearing it from her mom again did something back to her. So in the sense that I think they were walking on the road, and her mom told her that you have sea leg or something. Do you get like you have sea leg or you have too broad shoulders for a lady and you're not fine? So those words that she heard, right? So for a teenager that actually goes through something like that, from a mother that this is like one of the first set of persons that you see when you come into this world, right? Persons that you tend to emulate. So subconsciously, even though you kind of you don't want to believe that what they're saying is true, subconsciously it's registered in your mind that what they're saying is true about you. So when she finds someone like that, when she finds herself in an environment where she's asked to, we have different types of anxiety. So let's say, for example, social anxiety disorder. When she finds herself in an environment where she's asked to present or say something or just interact with people, because of those things that she might have heard, they have formed like a pattern in her heart that this is who I am, right? And so she finds it hard to express herself because she doesn't know how people will judge her or how people will see her, right? She has these insecurities and stuff and everything. And back to what I was saying about when you're not allowed to express yourself in your home, right? When you come out, it's also hard. So you find yourself in that space where you social anxiety, you want to speak up, or what they told you at the time that, oh, keep quiet, if you talk, you're disrespectful, and all those stuff. You have this anxiety to talk to, address people, to speak, to even network and communicate with other people. And that family dynamics also is negative, right? So when teenagers are neglected at home, they're not given the love and attention that they need for every. So I was reading a documentary talking about different stages of psychological development. So we have the dependent stage, we have the independent stage, and we have the interdependent stage. The dependent stage is where, as a child, you're totally dependent on your parents for almost everything, right? For care, for health care, for emotional needs, physical needs, spiritual needs, and whatever. And they just keep going. And when you get to that independent stage, that's like say where you have adolescence. where it seems like they want to do things on their own, they want to stand on their own and all those stuff. It's a psychological state. And after that, you get to be interdependent. So most people they think that independent stage is like the top where you can stand on your own. The highest form of maturity is interdependence, knowing that you alone can't just make this work. You need to partner with people, you need to work with people. So these are like stages of development. So when a child at that point of dependency stage, it has a way of forming their mindset and just helping them have a positive frame of life. When they miss that stage, right, and maybe they just find themselves getting to the independent stage earlier than they should have stepped into that stage, it has a way of affecting their relationship with people, right, and also their mindset. It begins to so this will take me to somewhere. So when you talk about anxiety and depression, if you check it, especially when you're like having therapy sessions with this person, if you check it properly, you see that their unhealthy thought patterns that sponsor this. Like my colleague there, they will know that their unhealthy thought patterns that sponsor this stuff, that sponsor anxiety and depression. And these thought patterns are not just formed in a day, right? They're not just formed like immediately. They're formed from like childhood sometimes or based on experiences and stuff that happen. So a teenager that has been exposed to neglect, no care, no emotional care, and even physical care or spiritual care, whatever it is that they might need, right? They begin to form this unhealthy thought pattern in their mind. It could be thought patterns of maybe I'm not useful or I'm not that important, or maybe I have to do too much to get something, right? Or maybe I really don't have to. Then the ones that have over excessive care and pampering and all this stuff, they find themselves in an environment where they have this thought pattern of I necessarily don't have to do much to get this thing. So you feel them laid back and all and stuff. And when things are not working out for them, they begin to like have issues and they're just bothered like what's happening, my life is not. You know what? It's the kind of thought pattern that they form right from time that I really don't have to like do much and all. You get it? Instead of putting the necessary effort. So basically, the way a teenager is raised in their home has a way of influencing their mental health. As regards anxiety and depression, yes, it has a way of helping them. It has a way of either stabilizing their mental health or making them prone to anxiety and depression. And also, we have trauma, we have abuse. In an environment where a child or teenager is abused and all right, those traumas they tend to stick and it affects their mental health. Like it can lead to depression in the long run. So, for example, a child that is raped or something, right? It begins to like it messes up with that. It messes up anybody that goes through abuse. It has a way of messing up with that person's head, and they're more prone to depression. They're more prone to anxiety. And so basically, the environment where a child is placed determines a whole lot how stable their mental health is.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have two questions here. I'm going to just give opportunity for two more questions. If you have any more questions, you can please write it down and pass it over. Yeah, so the first question here is, sometimes people do not know how to work. Okay, this is a two-in-one question. Okay. Sometimes people do not know how to walk away from things and people that hurt them. Please, how do you think we can help such people? People who do not know how to walk away from things and people that hurt them. And he says, do you think people should be okay, I think we should answer this question because does anyone wants to take that the first question? It's the problem of people not being able to walk away from things that hurt them. So how can these people be helped?
Well, so that you not being able to walk away from it that hurt, it means you actually lack some skills, some basic skills going on. Like, I actually met someone, not long, like old enough, like old, but I just noticed that they lack some basic skills growing up. The problem is not her, she's doing well when it comes to finance and everything, but coping with when someone is angry at her, she don't know how to react. So I don't know when we are talking about the matter, just like the first week I talked about and love it. He doesn't even have the love like the social life by the virtue of that because she's afraid what will happen if I enter this one? She had just 2 relationships and she's at something, just 2, and she lock up like 10 years and no, this thing is not for me. She concluded. So in that kind of situation, that person lack the skill. I think you are the one teaching us on Facebook one day how to let go possibly. The fact that you helped me to get an addiction doesn't mean you will help me to teach. You must learn the skill to know that when it is the time for something to go, that thing has to go. In fact, sometimes that relationship will strike when you do it. Sometimes you even value yourself more. So the skill the person lack is that probably he lacks maybe a certain skill or should I say, and I think we talk about attachment, the attachment that we had when growing up too. So they lack that thing to growing up because some people that doesn't have all this proper orientation about okay when it is time for so to go. You know, when I was growing up, I have that issue when people I like come people do for holiday. When they are going, I find it very hard to go. It happens to me many times. Until I started learning that people are bound to come and go. In fact, about death, I just learned about that 2-3 years ago. When I hear somebody, especially somebody I've seen with my eyes, not even family member, when they tell me the person that you will think I'm their family member because I see him, I will be depressed, thinking there was something that I was sitting on the chair and I came from the chair because I heard that somebody I've seen before. So I later discovered that I have a problem, and that problem was that I lacked some basic skills that I need to have. So you have to learn that skill of assertiveness. Even this person living my life doesn't mean I'm bad. Doesn't mean probably even the person is even bad. It's just time for us to part ways and let this person go. It's even sometimes relationship is better when you allow each other, everybody.
Thank you so much. I also want to add something. You know, especially in relationship, the truth is the fact that 2 people can be good, but they can. It can be that they are not good for each other. Yes. So they can be actually individually they are good people, but they are not good for each other. Okay, very quickly before we.
I wanted to add something.
Alright.
That particular question. So it's not about knowing when to let someone go. Right? It's about also knowing yourself. So she mentioned it's about self-awareness, which is very, very profound. Knowing yourself, knowing your identity, your value, your worth. So when you know what you are worth, right? There are some things when you see it come, you know that okay, no, I shouldn't be taking this. Do you get? And it's not pride. It's just knowing that you are valuable, and if you keep taking this, it has a way of either hurting your esteem or just punishing or just doing something to your the way you perceive yourself or the way you see yourself, right? So when you have a healthy self-esteem, so that somebody like that also, it could be you mentioned something that letting someone go, it does not make you does not mean that you are bad. Or you could check that some persons the reason why they have not because they feel like if I let this person go, like what's going to happen to my life? Like I'm going to be empty, or I'll be alone, or I might not find somebody, or some stuff. It's also a thing of self-esteem, also an identity. How do you see yourself, right? So you need to really work on your self-esteem and identity, and know that you deserve good things and good things. You don't need to take rubbish for it that you are complete. It's not.
Thank you so much for that addition. Thank you. Okay, so the next question has actually been answered by Mr. Kelvin during this session. I'll just go over to, and he's not here currently, so I'll just go over to the last question, and in 2 minutes, before we round up this panel session, what do you do, I like this question actually, what do you do when your partner prefers opening up to his female, we are in this era of bestie where you see that a guy is having a female bestie and his girlfriend too. So what do you do when your partner prefers opening up to his female friend than his girlfriend? Yeah. This thing is really
okay. Let me try and answer that question. Not like I've been in that space per se, but I'm married and I've had, so more like not only talk about my own experience, but in terms of having a bestie and a relationship, I feel first of all you should find out, like you should know how long has this person been with this person. So if somebody has known someone for a long while before you get to know that person, it's not your job to answer that because that you have to call them. First of all, understand okay, this person has been friends with this person for long before I came in. So first of all, you won't understand the kind of friendship they have. First of all, understand what makes this person talk to this person. Because if this person, like, let's say for example, two of you are, okay, let's say, so, who would I use as an example?
You and your wife.
Okay, no, don't let me construct. Okay, so let's say Jeff and I they've been friends for like maybe 5 years. Then, so you and Jeff and I dating, just met. First of all, you don't need to start fighting Jeff that why you're always talking to this girl. They've been together for years before you even get to know them. So first of all, understand what it is about this girl that makes him talk to her. Find out if it's something you can do. Is it about, okay, he enjoys her company, he enjoys how she talks, he enjoys the advice that she gives, maybe she's fun or all those kinds of things. First of all, find out what it is about that person, because it's not about the other person, it's about you. Then secondly, by every means, find out how to make, not like how to switch the attention to yourself, but how to make your partner become like you be the person that you always want to talk to. And this is why I'm saying that I did it with my wife when we were dating. I made it an effort, like I intentionally did it that she must first meet me to solve any other thing before going to meet another person. So I was not the kind of man that would say that no, you must not talk to this guy, you must not talk to this people. But I made sure that I built that thing to ensure that it has to be me always. So I was always there for her. Like I would always want to initiate all those kind of conversations. So, and that's one thing with relationship, that if the person that you are dating, if there's nothing, like there's no value you can bring to that, it's really difficult. Because perhaps maybe the other person, the so-called, let's say bestie, is always giving the person advice and you are not there. So for example, so there are different angles to this, so you can dissect it from different angles. But let's say for example now, the person is into a particular industry and maybe they are colleagues. So you always have something to talk about. But you are not in that industry, you don't want to learn about it. So definitely you always want to be having conversation with the other person. So let's say for example, the guy likes talking about football or some likes a particular sport or something, and you like the partner, you don't have interest in it, the person will go and meet the person that you always want to. So when you like build it to the state that every form of discussion, every advice, every suggestion, whether it concerns you or it doesn't concern you, you have answers to this. They will always come to you first. So whether you have answers, and that's why it's always important to be knowledgeable about almost everything. So that even if there are so many times that she comes to meet me for something, not like I'm not in that space or I'm in that place, but I will always have an answer to it. So with that, it's very difficult for us to go and meet another person when you have someone.
Yeah.
So you have to build this. So it's something intentional. So your focus is not about the person. It's not about the other person. It's about you. Because if you build it to the state that they would always want to meet you, indirectly or directly, they would start losing interest in the because like if I can meet the person, I'm always there. This person always there. So okay, to find a roundup, one thing that we did when we were dating, because it was like a long distance relationship, we were not seeing every time. I intentionally, so it was not something she was used to, but me had to build it, because if I don't build it, I'm going to lose her one day. So I made it intentional that we always talk every day, like video calls, not just like talk, like video call every day. Like when I mean every day, every single day. So with that, it's very, very difficult for you to start talking to another person, because constantly that conversation is every day. Whether it concerns you or not concerns you, you talk about it. That's just it. But with that, you don't do that. You are giving that room open for the person to talk to another person. But when the person knows that, okay, you are like the jack of all trades, like anything is about this whole. Funny enough, I know. So it's really, really important. So with that, you so if you don't do that, they would always want to talk to that person. But you make yourself be the bestie that they would always want to be talking about. That's never going to happen.
applause is for the answer you gave. Then we're going to give another round of applause for him being an intentional partner. So that's good. Because trust me, so many ladies can attest to the fact that not all men are like this. Like that's the reality. Not all men are like this, and even some women too. So for a partner to be intentional is something commendable, and that's really beautiful. So, okay, you want to ask?
Just one of the seconds. So I thought the question was very interesting because it says, because he had me wondering, it says your partner prefers to talk to someone else, and then I'm wondering who is the partner. Yeah, in a situation where somebody prefers to be with somebody else, yet their partner.
One how you want.
That's what I wanted to point out. But then I understand that relationships do not become perfect overnight. So maybe there is room for work. You need to work on it, but until you get there, you're not the perfect person.
So that brings us to the end of this panel session. It's such an amazing work. Thank you so much, gentlemen and ladies, for sharing your wealth of knowledge with us and experience. Please just put our hands together. Please keep clapping as they go. Keep clapping. Thank you. Okay, let's take a picture.